Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Friday, March 19th, 2021. We are on voting list number 4. We have a number of bills before us. We will start with House Bill 379, Public Utilities, Low-Income Housing, Energy Performance Targets. Mr. Smith.
The bill was considered by the Public Utilities Subcommittee, but did not ultimately have a final disposition, so you brought it to full committee. The amendments in your packet, the latest set of amendments combine all of the prior sets of amendments from Delegate Tricoudian with a little bit of extra tweaking here and there. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 requires PSC to put some reporting in on the use of Empower Maryland funds for limited income Empower programs and provide annual information on that. They provide for DHCD using certain savings through all funding sources calculated for incremental gross energy savings. There is a related report that DHCD has to report certain information to the Public Service Commission so they can in turn turn around and send it to you all, and provides for intent language so that if the Empower Maryland next cycle is continued, that there'll be an incremental increase of at least 1% by 2026. And then finally, there's a work group that is set up under the bill. The amendments add a representative of the People's Council, strike out the representative from the MDH, and add someone who owns or develops affordable housing.
Move the amendments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded on the amendments. Any discussion on the amendment? If not, all in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. On the bill as amended.
Move the bill as amended. Favorable. Favorable with amendments.
Second.
Moved and seconded for favorable as amended. Delegate Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a simple question. Is the CEF money still on this? The CEF transfer?
There was originally going to be a transfer actually from the CEF account that included the AltaGas merger money. That is out.
That's out. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Chairman,
Delegate Branch.
what's the fiscal note, Bob?
With the amendment, I honestly don't know right now.
What was the fiscal note?
That involved the
What is it?
transfer of,
That was not, I can say about, that was 91 million.
right.
Okay,
I know what it is now.
That's what it was initially, 91 million.
Mr.
Believe-
Chair.
Let me go to Delegate Tricoudian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so the 91 million was special funds, I think. I don't have it in front of me, but what we did when we took the money out of AltaGas is we also slowed down the how quickly we would hit 1%, so that it costs a lot less. So we actually hit 0.4% next year, and then it increases to 1% by 2026. And then we also allowed for the mix of multiple federal funds to count towards that goal. So it is too bad that we couldn't get a new fiscal note, but it was 91 million of special funds when it was 1% next year, and there were no federal funds allowed to be counted towards that goal. The analysis that the Office of People's Council did with us suggested, sorry, if I had known there was a question around this, I would have brought it up. I apologize. But it suggested that, it's going to take me a second. Shoot. Oh, sorry. Where is that?
They were all special funds.
It is all special funds, yes, but
Yeah.
it's a significantly less of the special funds. I just can't find the People's Council analysis right off the top here.
Well, while you're looking up that, I can see this, Delegate, the concern was that was going to be diverting funds away from other purposes out of CEF. So they just thought it was going to be a real.
Oh, I see, but it's not coming.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, it's not coming from CEF, it's coming from Empower. So it's significantly less than 91 million, but it comes out of the Empower money, which is currently supporting everyone's energy efficiency, but not equitably. So this moves more of the Empower money out of the sort of the general Empower pots into specifically the low income pot. And it also adds all the federal money. But again, I'm trying to find this.
So what, how much is it? Is it 50 million, 45 million, 40 million? We have a number?
Yeah, I do have some estimates. It's just, I apologize, Delegate Branch. I didn't know that there was a question on this. So just give me a second to find this. So it looks like, what's the amendments?
Delegate Howard, you're after Delegate Branch.
Done, Mr. Chairman.
What was that?
I said, I'm done, Mr. Chairman.
Did you quote her a number? Did you quote a number? Sorry, did I
I'm sorry, Mr.
interrupt?
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I'm still trying to find that document. I didn't realize there was a question on this, and so I apologize. But if you want to take another comment and while I look for this.
Okay, let me go to Delegate Howard.
Thanks. I just wanted to be, so we do not have anything from Legislative Services as far as a fiscal note.
No,
This is
nope.
done by People's Council.
Typically, Legislative Services does not update
Okay.
the fiscal note on a bill until it has a third reading copy.
It is a substantial, so, okay.
Mr. Chair, can we move to the next bill and then come back to this in a moment? If people want an answer.
We'll put that one at the end to give plenty of time, and then we'll come back to it, okay?
Yes, thank you.
House Bill 620.
The House Bill 620 is a local Prince George's bill for which we do not have a letter. We understand from the delegation staff that the chair of the delegation does not intend to move forward on this bill. This is the one that would have lifted the distance restrictions for all Class C licenses in the county from the restrictions on being within so many feet of a church or youth center.
Is there a motion on the bill?
It doesn't have a letter?
No, it does not. And the delegation has not moved the bill.
Move on
But
favorable.
I was going to say move unfavorable.
Been moved and seconded for an unfavorable on House Bill 620. Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
Delegate Brooks,
Yes, on unfavorable.
Delegate Fisher,
Yes, on the unfavorable.
Delegate Queen,
Yes.
Delegate Turner,
Yes on the unfavorable.
Delegate Rogers,
Yes.
Delegate Carey,
Yes.
Delegate Jackson,
Yes.
Delegate Pippy,
Aye.
Delegate Mouts,
Yes.
Delegate Wilson,
Yep.
Delegate Palaria,
Yes.
Delegate Branch,
Yep.
Delegate Valderrama,
Aye.
Delegate Walker's excused,
I'm here. Yes.
Oh,
Delegate
Okay.
Walker, Delegate
Yes.
Key,
Yes.
Delegate Adams,
Yes.
Delegate Aaron's,
aye.
Delegate Fennell,
Aye.
Delegate Charkoudian,
Yes.
Delegate Howard,
Yes.
Delegate Crosby,
Yes.
and Delegate Watson.
Yes.
Motion carries. House Bill 625. I spoke earlier to you guys. What this bill, what I'd like to do is have two votes on it. Want to have a vote on it as is, and depending on the outcome, I want to vote Delegate Lewis's amended version of it, and council will explain the amended version if necessary. So,
Mr. Chair, before we start, can I be excused?
yes, ma'am. Excused
under
under
the
the rule.
Thank you
Yep.
so much. Thank you.
Okay. Noted.
Delegate Turner, would you like to make a motion on House Bill 625?
I make a motion on 625 as is or with the amendment.
No, unamended.
What?
It's House Bill
Unamended,
625.
unamendment.
I believe Delegate Turner is actually trying to push the original delegations amendment that has the grocery stores.
Yes.
Okay. That wasn't the bill as it came to us?
Let me just double check on that. But they sent in an amendment that said you could have up to 15 grocery store licenses in the county.
All right, that's the one we'll take. We'll take that one for purposes of discussion. I will second it. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, now we're on that bill right there.
So with the bill with the amendment would, in addition to allowing the transfer of licenses from a density zone to a non-density zone, would also authorize up to 15 grocery store licenses for beer and wine in the county. That was the major point of the amendment.
Right. We're on that one now.
Mm-hmm.
Turner, you have a motion on the bill as amended.
As an amendment, I want to make a motion on the bill as amended.
Is it favorable?
Favorable.
Yes, I'll second it for you.
Thank you.
If there's no discussion on the bill as amended, Delegate Turner, you're first. How do you?
Aye.
Delegate Turner votes aye. Madam Vice Chair.
Aye.
Delegate Brooks.
Aye.
Delegate Branch.
No.
Delegate Valderrama.
No.
Delegate Walker.
No.
Delegate Chi.
Yes.
Delegate Adams.
No.
Delegate Arentz.
No.
Delegate Fennell.
Is excused.
Excused under the rule. Delegate Charkoudian.
I'm sorry, this is with or without the amendments?
This is with the amendment that allows for grocery stores to sell beer and wine.
Got it. I'm a no, thank you.
Delegate Howard.
No.
Delegate Crosby.
No.
Delegate Watson.
No.
Delegate Fisher.
No.
Delegate Queen.
No.
Delegate Rogers.
No.
Delegate Carey.
No.
Delegate Jackson.
No.
Delegate Pippy.
No.
Delegate Mouts.
No.
Delegate Wilson.
Nope.
Delegate Impalaria.
No.
Uh, 418-1, that motion fails. Now can we go to Delegate Lewis's amendment that I believe strips out all references to grocery store sales?
Yes, with the revised amendment, the only thing that the bill would do is to authorize the transfer of a license from an alcohol density zone to some other location in the county.
So what can you further break that down? Because I want the members to be clear. on exactly what we're talking. When you say from one location, it's not, is it to a grocery store, or is it one liquor store to another liquor store?
It's one liquor store. It is one liquor store to another.
And that's it?
That's it.
All right.
The amendment,
Is there a second?
I have a question.
Delegate Valderrama.
Yes. So Bob, you said it goes from one liquor store to another. So what happens to the liquor store that had it? They're just selling it? They're just giving it up? I mean,
They're transferring the license. It's going to a different location. Or they're selling the license to somebody who can use it in the new location.
so they're giving up their license. I mean, they can't sell anymore.
Right, at that location. That's in the alcohol density zone.
Right.
So you're
and that's voluntary of that merchant.
correct. It's the board approving the transfer.
Okay.
It's not that the board is reaching out and saying, thou shalt transfer or die. It is, they may approve a transfer. A transfer is requested by the licensee.
Okay. Thank you.
Delia Walker.
Thank you. Just trying to make sure I'm correct on this, because right now in Prince George's County, when that license goes, it expires, right? That was something we put in. They're not creating new licenses.
Correct.
So this would allow that license to stay alive.
Correct. But in a different location that is not an alcohol density area.
It's not. So it can't go from alcohol density area to alcohol density area. It's got to go from alcohol density area to another area.
That's what it looks like, yes.
So, and I'm assuming for knowing my county, it's going to go from probably inside the Beltway to outside the Beltway. They can't reopen it in the ADD. Most of the alcohol density zones are inside the Beltway, I believe.
We never saw the report. We never saw the map.
Can't tell you. That's a lie.
Who lives there?
Could we provide a map or something like that? I mean, because alcohol density zone, and I know the chairman may know better than I do, but those zones, they were bigger than I thought, which surprised me. And I'm curious, do we have a map at all? Was one ever? Or
There was the 2017 legislation required a work group to get together, working with Park and Planning, and come up with map the zones, define the zones, and map the zones. And they were supposed to get a report back to us, to the General Assembly Library. As of the beginning of session, it still wasn't there.
Oh man!
So,
all right. Nah.
So if somebody else has seen a map, that's great. I haven't.
That's not fair to us. I don't want to debate it, but I got my questions answered. Thank you, Council.
All right, I'm gonna take them in order across the board. Delegate Rogers, Delegate Aaron's, Delegate Queen, Delegate Pippy, Delegate Chi.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm not gonna say I understand the density zone, the de-density zone and all of that, but where are the grocery stores at now? Because originally I remember discussion about public health crisis, grocery stores, helping grocery stores with their margins by allowing them to sell alcohol, which created a whole nother problem. So where are we at now about selling alcohol in grocery stores, which was part of the whole density zone versus de-density zone?
There is nothing in the bill that refers to licenses for use in a grocery store. That was stricken from the bill. This is just transferring a license from one place to another, an existing license from one place to another. And the alcohol density zone is defined as a census tract having an average of 3 or more Class A beer, wine, and liquor licenses per square mile.
Notwithstanding the fact that we don't have a map, but are we doing that in other counties across the state?
This is the only county I'm aware of that maps those. There are other counties that have quotas. For example, Howard County has a set of quotas for how many licenses may be in an election district. But that's done by election district. It's not based on the density of the, and I think actually in Southern Maryland, either Charles or Culver, I think it's Charles actually has quota requirements as well within their districts.
If I can,
Okay.
Baltimore County does. We do it by districts. We have an oversaturation of liquor licenses in a certain district. So rather than letting the board create new licenses, we allowed licenses to move out of that saturated district so they would keep value. Those guys could retire and get out of business and sell their licenses over to these other districts that didn't have an abundance of licenses. So this does seem to be very similar to what you want to do. The only thing is, as you're saying, you don't have a map yet. So I don't know what the, what the holds on that would be, where they could and where they couldn't.
Yeah, what's different here is this is based, setting up the zones based on census tract rather than on election district or other district.
And I would guess until those maps exist, you couldn't move those licenses because the bill's based on maps. And if the maps don't exist, you're not going to be able to move the licenses to the maps to exist. That would be my guess.
Yeah, as I say, there may be a map somewhere, but it hasn't been shared to the General Assembly that I'm aware of.
Delegate Arentz?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Hey, Bob, are these, if I were to sell my liquor, my package store within a density zone, does a liquor license go with it?
They'd have to transfer it to the new owner. They'd have to apply.
Okay, is there a value to that license?
Typically, it varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Prince George's is a jurisdiction that caps the number of licenses. So I would imagine that there is a value to it. I can't tell you what it is, though.
So by doing this bill, if we take this thing from a density to a low density, are we making people big money on this? Is that going to be a huge value to where I could make a big profit on a license that I only have typically till I close my store?
I don't know.
So the answer is yes.
Okay. Yeah, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Delegate Queen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think I got my question answered, but I just want to ask it again in layman's term. So this is taking licenses where it's heavily populated. There are a lot of liquor stores there. You can't bring any more into that district, that density zone. So I'm taking it to a less dense zone. So it's not going to be as heavily populated in that other zone. Is that correct?
Well, the close. Currently, law requires that the board can't issue new licenses in certain areas. But what this is, and they can only currently approve the transfer of certain licenses if the off-sale privilege is waived, which obviously would be death for a Class A license, since it is only an off-sale. So what the bill does is it allows them to transfer and retain the value, presumably, of the license by moving it to another location. But they can only do the transfer if it's currently in an alcohol density zone, again, defined by census tract.
And so, so some of the concerns is, whether it's something we would do across the state, but it seems like we have a similar approach in Baltimore County, is what I'm hearing.
As I said, there are a number of counties that have quota-based restrictions smaller than the county level. They do them. They handle them differently than I've seen here.
And do we know how the patient felt about this amendment, though?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
It wasn't voted on. If I can jump in, the delegation didn't see the amendment.
Okay.
Delegate Pippy?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess to Bob, maybe you can help me out. So when the new numbers come out, when the new census come out, is there a local law in Prince George's County that unless they're grandfathered in, when they go to sell, there's no transfer available to them? Is that part of the issue?
Well, actually, it wouldn't be local law because this is all handled through the state alcoholic beverages code. But what they're saying, there's nothing currently in the law right now about alcohol density zones. There was an attempt to do it in 17, but what you're doing is you're saying it's based on census tracts. So presumably, if those census tracts designations change over time, presumably that they are characterized as alcohol density or no longer alcohol density, those would have to change along with the census tracts. I mean, those would change along with the boundaries would have to change as the census within those census, as long as the inventory within those census tracts changes. So every 10 years, presumably, you could see a change in the boundaries.
So in Prince George's County, for example, if this were to pass, is there anything prohibiting someone from applying for a license in an area where one of these licenses could be transferred to?
I think we
Well,
got a cap, don't we?
yeah, you do. In the current law, which this amends, says, except as provided in paragraphs 2 and 3, the board may not issue a new license anywhere within a part of the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, or 47th alcoholic beverages districts. That's the county.
Mhm.
The whole county.
So there's a count. That's a whole county. So except for a transfer, if they waive the off-sale privilege, or there's a very particular transfer provision that was done by state law.
So they're maxed out.
They're maxed out. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right. And with the census coming out, that could pose a problem because if somebody wishes to kind of exit the business, I got it. Okay, thanks.
Elliot Chi?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to ask a clarifying question. So it sounds like this bill, on the one hand, does a couple of things. One is it gives grocery stores a chance to locate to those underserved areas where there's abundance of alcohol, but probably not enough fresh food, by allowing them to have alcohol Class A licenses. And at the same time, for those that are in those very densely populated liquor areas, if they want to get out of that business, they can just transfer their licenses, right? But they cannot transfer to that, let's say, new grocery store that is coming in. They have to transfer it outside of that district.
Yeah, there currently are not licenses for grocery stores in this area, and the bill with the amendment would not authorize any. So this is simply dealing with those who wish to transfer from an area which is currently a density zone to somewhere else in the county. Groceries are, with the amendment, the groceries are out. To clarify from earlier, the delegation did not send a letter on this amendment. This, however, was part of the bill that was covered by the prior letter, for what it's worth.
Thank you.
Delia Brooks?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I can speak to Baltimore County. Baltimore County has 15 election districts, and for on sale, there are 2,500. For every 2,500 persons, then you could get a license. And for the off sale, which would be like your packaged goods stores, is for every 4,000 person for the for each one of the election districts. So it's based primarily on the population. So
okay, Mr. Chairman, I've had a request to look at the amendments. They're not in the floor system. I think this was actually sent out in the packet that Kayla sent. This particular amendment is 625 883 128/1. So that should be in your amendment packet. If you want to see a reprint, I can share a screen, but that's up to you all.
Please, so we can all see the same thing.
Okay, here we go. Huzzah. So this is with the amendment. Changes to the purpose paragraph and the function paragraphs are technical. The amendment strikes provisions relating to the general provisions relating to chain stores, supermarkets, and so forth. It defines alcohol density zone to mean a census tract having an average of 3 or more licensed premises with a Class A BWL license. Strikes provisions that would have added the authorization to issue a license to a grocery store in an alcohol density zone, so long as it wasn't a chain store, a supermarket, or a discount house. And then what it leaves in the bill is the existing law, which says The board may not issue a new license with an off-sale privilege or approve the transfer of a license with an off-sale privilege in the entire county. The board may issue approval or transfer if they waive the off-sale privilege. 3 is a very specific transfer that was done by state law. And then the new language here, let me do this, I apologize. This is what's left of the new language in the bill. The board may approve the transfer of a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license into an area specified in paragraph 1 of the subsection, meaning anywhere in the county, only if the original license premises is located in an alcohol density zone. So they can move if they're in an alcohol density zone, whereas they currently can't move at all. All they can do right now is either give up the off-sale privilege, which again makes no sense for a packaged goods store, or give up the license entirely.
Mr. Chairman?
Um,
Well, there you are.
Okay, we have hands
you know
from
what?
delegates.
I've just been informed that from the chair of the delegation office that the delegation hasn't looked at this. This was from Delegate Lewis, and they are requesting that the delegation have an opportunity to weigh in on it. So with
Amen.
let's move on.
I second.
We will, so we will hold that.
Yeah.
Okay. That is held. Next bill on the list
That
is
was a nice waste of time.
House Bill 682.
Yes.
House Bill 682 from Delegate Buckle was taken up by the Public Utilities Subcommittee, requested summer study.
So move unfavorable with the summer study.
Second.
Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
This is House Bill 682.
My list. Sorry.
Are we good?
I'm not sure what I'm on right now. Wait a minute.
Renewable Energy
Delegate
Portfolio.
Buckles bill.
Okay, gotcha. Good. Thank you.
All right. Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
Delegate Brooks?
Yes on unfavorable.
This is a referral to summer study.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Delegate
right.
Fisher?
Yes, yes.
Delegate Fisher?
He's gone.
All right.
Excused.
Delegate Queen?
That's why I'm confused. So this bill has returned to us. So we have to vote it down. Is that the case?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
It's shown as a referral to summer study. It comes out on report as being an unfavorable referred to summer study.
Okay, so yes on the unfavorable. Thank you.
Delegate Turner?
This is HB 682, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yes. The unfavorable, I'm voting for the unfavorable.
Delegate Rogers?
Yes on the unfavorable.
Delegate Carey?
Yes.
Delegate Jackson?
Yes.
Delegate Pippy?
No.
Delegate Mouts?
No.
Delegate Wilson?
Yes.
Delegate Impalaria?
No.
Delegate Branch?
Yes on the unfavorable.
Delegate Valderrama?
Aye.
Delegate Walker?
Yes, unfavorable.
Delegate Chi?
Yes.
Delegate Adams?
No.
Delegate Arentz?
Nope.
Delegate Fennell?
Yes on the unfavorable.
Delegate Charkoudian?
Yes.
Delegate Howard?
No.
Delegate Crosby?
Yes.
And Delegate Watson?
Yes.
All right.
I'm a no also, Mr. Chairman. I guess I didn't get through.
All right. Delegate Fisher is a no. Motion carries, referred to summer study. House Bill 857.
Okay, ECM is secondary
on this bill, and it requires each producer of synthetic turf or turf infill sold or distributed in the state to establish a system to track the chain of custody of the turf from manufacture all the way to final disposal. For synthetic turf that was already installed as of January 1st, 2022, the bill requires the owner to establish the system of tracking the chain of custody. The sponsor has a set of amendments. Would you like me to go over those, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Okay, so the amendments strike the language that prohibited the reuse of a turf field, increases the minimum size of synthetic turf for which the bill is applicable from 5,000 to 15,000 feet, establishes penalty provisions, and makes other clarifying changes.
Delegate Adams, do you have a motion?
Well, my motion would be unfavorable.
Is there a second?
Second. Second.
Been moved and seconded for an unfavorable. Is there any discussion? Hey, Bob, if you get a chance, can you screen so I can see everybody again, please?
Sorry about that, yeah.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on House Bill 857? If not, Madam Vice Chair?
Yes on the unfavorable.
Delegate Brooks?
Yes on the unfavorable.
Delegate Fisher?
Yes.
Delegate Queen?
Yes.
Delegate Turner?
Yes on the unfavorable.
Delegate Rogers?
No on the unfavorable.
Delegate Carey?
No.
Delegate Jackson?
Yes.
Delegate Pippy?
Yes on the unfavorable.
Delegate Mouts?
Yes.
Delegate Wilson?
Yes.
Delegate Impalaria?
I am a yes on the unfavorable.
Delegate Branch?
Yes.
Delegate Valderrama?
Aye.
Delegate Walker?
Yes.
Delegate Chi?
We are on HB 857, right?
Yes.
No on the unfavorable.
Delegate Adams?
Yes.
Delegate Arentz?
Yes.
Delegate Fennell?
No.
Delegate Charkoudian?
No on the unfavorable.
Delegate Howard?
Aye.
Delegate Crosby?
No.
And Delegate Watson?
Yes.
Motion carries. House Bill 883, please.
Okay. House Bill 883 is an Allegheny County bill. This is an alcohol bill. As introduced, the bill required Allegheny County to publicly auction newly issued and transferred alcoholic beverages licenses. There is a set of amendments that strike the bill as introduced and instead establishes a new Class BD beer, wine, and liquor license for use by a restaurant that, among other things, has on an annual basis gross sales of food and non-alcoholic beverages that exceed its gross sales of alcohol beverages. We received an updated letter of support from the delegation yesterday.
Move the amendments.
There a second? Then I'll do it. Second. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
So 883.
Bill as amended.
I don't have 883, but those,
It's an alcohol bill. And it was added to the list today
okay.
All right. It's been.
for Washington County.
Has it been moved and
Allegheny.
seconded as amended?
Yes, Mr. Favorable with amendment moved.
All right. And
We might need a
second,
Second.
Delegate Howard, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. I believe everyone's here. So does anyone wish to be recorded in opposition to House Bill 883?
Nope.
If you do, let me hear you. Hearing none, all present voted aye, and all are present. Let's go to House Bill 1007.
Okay. This is the other bill that was dealt with yesterday at Public Utilities. There is a set of amendments I may as well just find the reprint and share that, if that's all right.
That'd be great.
Okay. All right, give me a sec to find them. I know I had them up and running, but okay. Too many of these things. Oh, come on. Here we go. And I'll try to make it so that even my eyes can read it. Here we go. The amendments in blue were added based on discussion at Public Utilities. Amendment number 1 is technical changes to the purpose paragraph and the function paragraphs. This is the bill that you will recall is supposed to promote the installation and use of new geothermal systems starting in 2021, and provides an explicit band within the RPS Tier 1 for increasing requirements for those starting in 2022, actually. Here we go. Originally, it was a system that would be in place starting January 1 of next year. That's been moved back 6 months in order to give PSC a little bit of, and DOL a little bit of time to actually work on how to process these applications. As we continue down through the bill, we get to the new band starting here on page 6. The bill came in starting with at least 0.15% in 2022. This has been moved down to 0.05 because we're only starting July 1st. And we have changes up through the next several years until we get to 1% in 2027 rather than in 2026 when the bill is introduced. We then get to defining area moderate median income and lower moderate income housing. The bill is supposed to require at least 25% of those RECs in that geothermal band to be from installations that in some way benefit those with lower moderate income housing or those who are on financial assistance or reduced price meals and so forth. The technical definition here for different kinds of what geothermal means. Large geothermal systems of at least 360,000 BTUs are supposed to be provided by companies that provide certain labor-related standards and benefits. And what we did with the amendment here, since PSC doesn't usually handle labor issues, is to have compliance with those provisions be regulated and enforced by DOL. I'm hearing somebody in the background. I don't know whose microphone is doing that. The bill also has an alternative compliance payment system, which is specific to the geothermal, post-geothermal systems, and we have an adjustment to the years that those apply in, again, going with the delay to July 1st of these new systems. There was concern in public utilities about supporting small minority women and veteran-owned businesses, as we did in CEJA. So what we've done is say that the compliance fees that are paid under this would be put into CEF in a separate account, accounted for separately to promote increased opportunities for growth and development of small minority women-owned and veteran-owned businesses in the state that install geothermal systems. And then we go on to providing for, actually there was an examining methods to promote increased opportunities for growth and development of those same kinds of businesses to install geothermal systems in the state, and to promote career training opportunities for local residents, minorities, women, and veterans, and also develop a baseline survey so we know what the participation is right now. That's something that work group that MEA has to convene would do. Those are the amendments.
Move the amendments.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the amendments. Discussion. I don't hear anybody. So all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, now on the bill as amended, is there?
Move the bill as amended.
Move the bill as amended.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Delegate Howard.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yesterday during subcommittee, I made it clear that I had an amendment that I wanted to offer, and it was a simple amendment based on the ACP payment, which this bill is drawn up upon, would be to cap that ACP over the given term of the and life of the bill, with the 2026 essentially that the bill specifically speaks to. When will I be able to offer that amendment for this committee's review?
Right now.
Okay, so that's essentially, colleagues, my verbal amendment. The ACP that's stated in the bill over the term from now to 2026, Bob, if you can go over that. And my amendment is very simple. Yeah.
Okay, so 10 cents through 24, 9 cents in 25, 8 cents in 26, 6.5 cents starting in 2027.
Right, and that's per Marylander. So, and I think based on even the proponents' estimates,
that's based on the lack of a rec.
Right, and I think I got some information from one of the proponents of the bill. It's about 59 cents a month per Marylander, per Maryland household. So I would just ask that we cap that ACP because that's essentially what we're making our decision on for this piece of legislation financially. And, you know, I mean, there was a bill the other day, Delegate Grammer was questioning, and, you know, we can raise or lower the ACP at any given time, and it's just a piece of paper. But, you know, we're making the decision on this piece of legislation based on the current rates and the rates stated within the bill. And I think it's appropriate to cap those ACP rates over that given time and for what's stated in the bill.
So let me make sure I'm understanding correctly. On lines 21 through 24, are you saying they should be capped at those numbers that are in the bill? Or?
Well, I guess my point is, Mr. Chair, is we're making a decision based on numbers.
No, I mean, I'm just asking. I'm not.
Yeah, no, I understand. My point is that we're making this a financial decision based on those numbers, right? Because this will be cost borne out by every Marylander. And I think that we should use those numbers up until the 2026, 2027 guideline. I don't think that it would be prudent to come back 2 or 3 years later and start raising these numbers when we pass this piece of legislation based on the numbers that are in front of us today. I guess I don't know if that
would have to be done by legislation, Delegate.
Not unless we cap it, right?
Hold on. If you put a cap, I'm not understanding as a technician. The bill, should it be enacted, sets that as the ACP for those particular years.
Right.
Right. So,
but the only way next year and
that's right. And you can put in a bill to do that, or someone else can put in a bill to do that. We cannot tie the hands of a future General Assembly to say that they wouldn't come in and change them up or down or eliminate them entirely. But we cannot write legislation in this session that would say a General Assembly in 2025 couldn't change it. You can't do that. I'm trying to figure out I'm honestly just trying to figure out what you're saying.
I'm trying to protect the current rates at which this and cost to every Marylander that this bill is based on. Because it's my feeling that as we move forward in this, that those costs could go up exponentially, because next year we could see, or 2 years from now, we could see, oh, well, in 2026, instead of, I can't read it, it's so small, 8, 9, 10 cents, That's okay. I need glasses is the problem, and I'm too stubborn to wear them. But that we're going to make that now 50 cents.
But Bob, are you saying that would have to be done legislatively? It couldn't be
Yes.
done like through regs. So Delegate Howard, if I'm understanding correctly,
all
and
right.
forgive me if I'm misunderstanding, I think what Bob is essentially saying, no matter what we put in there in terms of numbers, those numbers are in there unless another General Assembly comes back and changes it. And there's nothing we can do now to prevent a future General Assembly from changing what we doing today. But they can't automatically, I mean, I guess a regulator or somebody, they can't change it because we're doing it legislatively. But there is no way we can prohibit next year's General Assembly or the one after that from looking at what we did today and changing it tomorrow.
That's correct.
Okay. Could we put in some type of rate review? So instead of just coming to the General Assembly and saying, well, instead of 10 cents or 9 cents or 8 cents, we want 50 cents now, that it has to go through some type of rate review. I mean, I know that we do that in many cases and throughout the state, and I think it'd be wholly appropriate here.
For a laptop.
What is this?
But what I think, and forgive me if I'm misunderstanding, Delegate Howard, what I think in order for that rate to change, somebody would have to put a bill in to change.
That's correct.
You see what I'm saying? It can't be changed by like the PSC or anybody like that because it's being put in statutorily. So in order for it to change, another bill would have to be put in which case it would be coming back before us again, or whoever's sitting in these seats.
Well, I appreciate that. And I know that good body and we'll do a lot of diligence with it. It's just, as we move things out of tier 1, I'm worried about increased demand and cost for these type of products and services, which, hey, I'm being very honest. I like geothermal a whole lot, a hell of a lot. But I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing by all Marylanders that are going to be bearing out the cost of this. So that's all I'm trying to explore here.
Understood.
Mr. Chair,
Delegate Watson.
I move this amendment unfavorably.
You mean
What do we
Delegate
have?
Howard's amendment?
Yes.
Oh,
I'll second.
let me go to Delegate
Charkoudian.
Charkoudian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for the spirit of your amendments, Delegate Howard. I think this does really put in a cap. Like what this says is the cap is 6.5% for 2027 and later. So I feel like the and later is the cap. I appreciate what you're saying about it could increase, but this is very clearly saying for the forever after that, it's 6.5 cents, unless someone comes back to the General Assembly. And I hear that that is your concern, but I do think for all intents and purposes, this is sort of the spirit of what it is that you were saying, that later part of it.
I get it, and I'm not trying to attack your bill and all this, that, and the other. You and I always have good spirited debates, but again, my concern is it's just that we're making decisions that are going to affect every Marylander. We heard testimony the other day by, and I'm not trying to call it a Delegate Grammer. It's something like $320 or $380 a year per Maryland family is paid into some portion of the RPS through electric bills. And I'm just trying to protect a little bit more of the cost for each and every Maryland family. I don't have anything against geothermal. I think it's a great thing, but I just, so I appreciate what you're saying, but my thought and my sense is that, it's sort of a new baby. And I have a distinct sense that in 2 or 3 years, we're going to be right back here with a piece of legislation raising 9 cents to 27, 8 cents to 24.
And see, that's Delegate Howard. I think that's what I was getting. There's nothing you can put in. There's nothing we can put in that prevents that. No matter what we put in here, we can. If Delegate Davis or Delegate Branch or Delegate Charkoudian, whatever we put in today, somebody can come in with a bill next year, and there's nothing we can do to say like, well, we did this in 2021. there's no bill we can put in that's would be, I guess, constitutional or whatever, that would bound the hands of a future General Assembly from doing what they want. We simply don't have that authority.
Yeah, I understand. And in the interest of time, well, can we let Delegate Arndt speak?
Yeah, no, we're going to go to Delegate Aaron's as soon as I wanted you to, finish with the first, and then I was going to Delegate Aaron's.
Well, I didn't know if he was going to speak on my amendment or not.
No, that's fine.
I'm not
Okay,
going to speak on your amendment.
That's fine. Then, I'm sorry, Delegate Davis. Chairman Davis, I'll withdraw the amendment in the interest of time before the committee.
Thank
All
you.
right. So now, Bob, where are we? We already adopted the other amendments, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So we're on the bill as amended.
Move the bill as
Delegate
amended.
Aaron's.
Correct.
All right. Delegate Aaron's.
Yeah, I thought Delegate Watson was ahead of me, but that's fine. If
I'm
you
down.
want to go.
She made a motion.
I'm down.
Okay. I guess my biggest concern with this, and I appreciate all we're trying to do, but this carve out, what's that going to do? Where is that money coming from to do this carve out? When we add, we're going to give subsidies to geothermal. Where are those dollars coming from is what the question is. Does anybody know that?
I mean, this is something where the RPS works by having every electricity supplier in the state say that the electricity that they're selling in the state complies with the RPS. So they'll have to make sure that they have a certain number of RECs based on the total load that they sell. Such a certain proportion will have to be from post-21 geothermal systems. And if they fail to do that, then based on the number of RECs of shortfall that they have, they pay so many cents for that particular compliance year.
Okay. I guess my point keeps coming back to dollars and cents and how much we keep adding and adding and adding onto these bills. And I know that becomes a little tiresome to some of us, but I appreciate geothermal. I actually talked to the guy who's part of this bill. And I know his business. I know a lot about it. I respect it, but I look at something like this as just adding another layer of dollars and cents to the bottom line bill. And in this body, we talk about our communities that are poor. We talk about all this stuff. We talk about the RPS. We talk about numbers that this state is not even remotely hitting based on their own thing. And we satisfy that by going out of state and spending a tremendous amount of ratepayer dollars when we don't have the ability to do that. I think this process is just going to add another layer of that. And we always have these bills where we're talking about the gap between the haves and the have-nots. And this bill is just increasing that gap, in my opinion. And I think until we start addressing this stuff with a realistic approach, it's great to say we're 100% or 50% and all that, but we're nowhere near that, and we're putting false numbers out to everybody. And I don't think it's in the best interest of the ratepayers. So I'll probably be a nay on this one. But thank you.
Delegate Palaria.
You're muted.
Bob, thank you for taking the time and writing the amendment up for the minorities. And I think it was written up very well because it is a very small part of the utility industry. And it's an area that minorities actually have a chance to get into. So I think that was fantastic. This type of energy, unlike wind and solar, it actually works 24/7. So if there's clouds out, geothermal's working. If there's snow on the ground, geothermal's working. If it's dark, geothermal's working. If there's no sun, geothermal's working. So this does, unlike the other types of energy that are brought to us, this one actually works 24/7 no matter what, but it's on a way smaller scale. I'm not a big fan of subsidizing any of this, but I think the way you explained it when we were in subcommittee is that there's a pot of money and this is going to be subsidized by that pot of money, meaning, I guess, is that the way I understand it? It's like a first come, first serve on those regs that, if this burnt up all the regs, then there wouldn't be any more regs. So we're not creating new regs to push this forward. We're just adding this to the list. Is that the way it works, Bob?
This is something where this is, well, I mean, geothermal is already part of the RPS. That was from legislation that came out of Senator Middleton's committee back. I'm trying to think about 5 or 6. My time scales getting lost, but we've had geothermal for some time. What this is doing, this is providing an incentive specifically to put new systems in post 21. So only those that are installed on or after and put into service on or after July 1st of 21 would qualify. And you're saying that a certain portion of that should be coming from sources, from projects that will benefit those who are low income, those who are on fixed income, those who are on Medicaid, schools and institutions like that. So that's providing the incentive there is to get geothermal out to those kinds of systems, those kinds of communities where it may not otherwise be going there. The money that comes in from failure to meet the standard in a given year is the ACP, and that will then be used to be turned around to try to provide incentives for businesses to get minority MBEs, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses to get into the business, and also to train using the existing supports from CEJA, apprentices, and bring people into the clean energy area in geothermal using these dollars, however they may be. I mean, if everybody satisfies the requirement by having a new system installed and there is no ACP, there's no money. But if there's a shortfall, that's what funds any of these efforts, and it would again be in addition to and on top of what is already coming out of CEF for CEJA, under CEJA from a couple of years ago for the apprenticeship and training programs, as well as the money that was sent over to Ms. Bidford to do some in venture capital into the clean energy funds.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Long answer to a short question. Sorry about that.
It was, but that's okay. Thank you.
Delegate Mount.
Thanks, Chairman. The RPS is just so frustrating for me. It just, there are so many things about it that I've got problems with and concerns about. And that being said, I love geothermal. I think I'm all in. I think geothermal is great. I think it's the original renewable energy. I think that's where, to wind the clock back before I was ever around, we weren't talking about it then, but I like it. And, but one thing that's really troubled me about our RPS, and people want green energy, they want renewable energy, but they want it, there's got to be a natural transgression. I think there's been a problem with solar and wind as far as making that transition. I think geothermal is a natural one to do it. But in watching the solar and the wind, I see these, the RECs are being bought from producers from out of state. There's people from out of state coming in to do the work. So for the sponsor, I just wanted to verify that with this bill, that the RECs for this bill are directly attributed to geothermal products, geothermal producers here in Maryland, and that the work that's done, that's associated with this, is done by individuals from here in Maryland. How is that in the bill, and how is it protected?
Actually, Delegate, I could add it based on the current law. It's not showing in the bill, but section 7704, 7704A says where things can be come in that are qualified. And let me just double check, but I'm fairly sure that geothermal has to be in state, or at least have the system tied to the grid serving the state, which essentially means an in-state system.
Mr. Chairman, that is my understanding as well.
Yep.
So it definitely for certain requires the REC?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in order to qualify for a REC in Maryland, and I'm just opening. I actually have the volume on my on my, here we go, 770 for geothermal is, and we're going to go back to the definitions, but okay. Or geothermal is S5, and S5 has to be is eligible for inclusion only if the source is connected with the electric distribution grid serving Maryland. So essentially, yes, geothermal has to be in state.
In Maryland.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering that.
I just wanted to double check before. I didn't want to give you a wrong impression.
Delegate Howard.
Sorry, just a quick question for Bob, and it popped into my mind because we were going through this again. And it says hospitals with a majority of patients eligible for financial assistance or who are enrolled in Medicaid, right where you are, right down, Bob.
Yep. Okay.
What does that mean? Is that first visit? Is that a referral visit? I mean, how does that define?
Well, actually, I can tell you based on my experience when I was doing my my institutional internship for formation at University Hospital. They very definitely have, because they report to the commission, what their census is, and they have a what percentage of their patients are either eligible for financial assistance or are enrolled in Medicaid. It's a standard metric within the hospitals.
Right.
And because I know University Hospital had something like 80% of their census was typically qualified to one or the other. That's university in Baltimore.
Right. They tend to be more of the public hospitals.
And how does this bill define low and moderate income? Just walk me through real quick.
Lower moderate income housing, at least in terms of housing, is housing affordable for a household with an aggregate annual income that is at or below 120% of the area median income.
Okay. Okay, I don't have a hospital, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I don't have a hospital in my district. Does this mean that I will not be eligible for programs or monies, but I have people in my district that do these types of services and do this type of work? Does this mean that they'll get less?
Well, what we're saying is that at least a quarter of the post-21 geothermal band has to be derived from systems somewhere in the state that were either at single or multifamily housing units with low or moderate income, at institutions that primarily serve low and moderate income individuals and families, including, and this is illustrative, this isn't a limitation.
Right.
If you have other institutions that serve that population, that's fine too. But the examples given were schools with students on lower, right?
Yeah, meals. Yeah.
Those hospitals. Some districts will have hospitals. Some districts won't. And other institutions that serve families where the majority are eligible based on for federal or state safety net programs. So you may not have a hospital, but you may have some of the other ones.
Community center.
Right, and that's one of the things I was concerned about is this some type of barometer or means testing in that my district will get less because it is a more rural district because I don't have a hospital and I don't have buildings that primarily can serve underserved communities or low and moderate income household folks.
No, I'd say you still have.
It's not a means testing. It's not like you have to.
No, it's not. But for that matter, 3/4 of the RECs under that band could be installed by anybody, whether they're in a McMansion or they're in a hut, without any qualifications whatsoever. And in terms of where you are taking ACP funds and then applying them to the support of the businesses that are small minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses. They can install in your district. They can install in Baltimore City. They can install
Right.
anywhere.
Okay. But they're only using the remaining percent, is that?
This is saying a quarter of the band should be coming from sources that are installed in these areas. 3/4 are unrestricted.
Okay, thanks committee, and thanks Bob for a more detailed explanation.
Delegate Brooks.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And this is the Delegate Mont's question he had asked, we had discussed on yesterday as well. There were like 60 well drillers that needed for geothermal in Maryland, and 74 geothermal installation companies. So yeah, most of those jobs will be done and performed right here in Maryland, hiring on Maryland workers, employees. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Delegate Arentz.
You're on mute.
I did remove my hand. I apologize. Sorry.
Did anybody else not remove their hand? Johnny, Delegate Moutz. All right. On the bill as amended, Madam Vice Chair.
Yes.
Delegate Brooks.
Yes.
Delegate Fisher. Is Delegate Fisher with us? If not, he's excused. Delegate Queen.
Yes.
Delegate Turner.
Yes.
Delegate Rogers.
Yes.
Delegate Carey's excused. Delegate Jackson.
Yes.
Delegate Pippy.
No.
Delegate Motz.
Yes.
Delegate Wilson.
Sure.
Delegate Impalaria.
Yes.
Delegate Branch.
Yep.
Delegate Valderrama.
Aye.
Delegate Walker.
Roll with Impalaria. Yes.
Delegate Chi.
Yes.
Delegate Adams.
Aye. Yes.
Delegate Arentz.
Yes, with heartburn.
That's what I was going to say.
Delegate Fennell.
Yes.
Delegate Charkoudian.
Yes.
Delegate Howard.
Yes.
Delegate Crosby.
Yes.
And Delegate Watson.
Yes.
Motion carries. House Bill 1044, please.
House Bill 1044 is a Washington County business regulation bill. We got an email today from the chair of the delegation that they're wanting to withdraw it, but unless Denise received a letter, I don't know that we have it in hand yet.
I'm sorry, you said you got a what from the delegation chair?
Denise and I were corresponding with Delegate Weibel, and he said that they wanted to withdraw it, but I don't know if we actually have the withdrawal letter.
Let's hold off a little bit. Let's press for the letter from the delegation chair.
Okay.
1153.
House Bill 1153 exempt the State Board of Physicians from the requirement to approve the name of a professional entity whose members are licensed physicians. The bill requires the State Department of Taxation to notify the State Board of Physicians and MedChi of a potential name. They can then either take no action, investigate, or refer the matter to the Office of the Attorney General. There are no amendments to this bill.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
talked about this yesterday, and I think we had talked about an unfavorable, but I did have some additional information I wanted to share with the committee before a decision is made.
Delegate Adams has his hand up.
Sorry. Did Delegate Adams want to go first?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So I did communicate with Steve Watts, who obviously represents MedGuy, for those that aren't aware. And I asked a series of questions. I asked if MedGuy had ever been sued based on the reviewer of the name, what other governing boards have to do this, for instance, who approves the names of law firms, and that I'm unaware of any such process for law firms. His response was that MedGuy is not, but that is partly because it does not deny the use of a name out of fear of a lawsuit. This begs the question, why then have the process at all? Two, he says the statute indicates that on corporate names that apply to all professional corporations, including attorneys, it's in courts and or corporation associations. However, when the proposed name includes the surname of owners, it apparently does not have to go through this name approval process. So most law firms avoid the process because the name, most law firms are, Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, which are the names of the partners. Three, he said he has not heard of such a process for attorneys, but assumes it's the Maryland State Bar Association that does it. I also asked if Kai was sued, what would be the basis? Is the concern that an entity gets too clever with the name, i.e. the name misleads the consumers? For instance, they call themselves pediatric specialists and they're not. He said a suit would be based on restraint of trade. He believes that there is a Supreme Court case, North Carolina State Board of Dental Examiners versus the FTC, where the court holds today that a state board on which a controlling number of decision makers are active market participants in the occupation the board regulates, they must have active supervision to receive the appropriate state immunity. That doesn't really help me. Anyway, he believes that the clever name is what gave rise to the statute to begin with years ago. They've tried to preserve in the bill some protection against that by still requiring a review, but not requiring MedCai to approve or disapprove. And that the basis for MedCai not wanting to do it, just like as I'm sure the Bar Association doesn't want to do it, that's certainly not MedCai's area of expertise, so to speak. It's determined what the name is or isn't. So the bill is just sets up a different process that says instead of MedCai needing to approve or disapprove, if there's a question, they refer it to the AG and let the AG decide. Now, we've gotten information, if I'm correct, Tiffany, that the AG doesn't want it or doesn't want that responsibility.
Correct.
The question for us is MedCai, should we just let them continue to sort of not do anything because they're just not approving it? They're not taking a stand on any name. They're not denying. They're not denying any names. So they're tacitly approving all names, and they just want out of business. So that's my understanding, because I didn't think the bill was necessary, but I'm feeling a little different based on my discussions with Steve Wise. Now I don't know if Delegate Adams would like to speak.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And when Steve talked with me about this bill, I was compelled and was glad to, sponsor it, because I understand the nature of what's happening. They're wanting to get out of the business of actually being the decider whether a name is deceptive, and instead of being the one who approves it, rather be the one who reviews it. Just remember, they only have a couple of these sort of applications per year. So, we're not talking about 40 or 50 or 100 a year. We're talking about 2 last year, and there are more for this fiscal year. But what we're trying to do, and as sponsor of the bill, what I'm trying to do is, get these organizations out of the business of being in the approval business on what a business's name should or shouldn't be, and rather, stay focused on what they do best, which is, deliver professional services and advocate for the industry as a whole. It may not apply directly in my industry, but our floor covering business is a member of a statewide organization, and it somewhat is correlated. If someone in that organization was left with the responsibility to decide what the business's name should be, and maybe there's an explanation for it. I don't know what it is, but my feeling on this bill is that we remove the liability from that organization to make these approvals I think it's meaningful because you might actually find that more gets done by way of making sure names are not deceptive, by rather making it the Attorney General in probably what is very rare circumstances, giving them the ability to do that as opposed to a professional organization, which if I were a business, if I was a physician and I had this professional organization deny my trade name, whatever that name is, number one, I'd be upset. Number two, I might be upset enough to sue to protect my rights. So, the bill is pretty simple and clear, and I think it's defining something in a meaningful way for the benefit of that association and also the Board of Physicians. So I'm hopeful that the bill, the way it was explained to me last fall before I sponsored it, can be law, because I think it helps in a meaningful way. And Steve was this was an important priority for MedChi and the Board of Physicians.
Delegate Queen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in light of this information, if the bill passes, who then is now responsible for the approval process? And the second question is, how is that different from other organizations we have in the state?
So Delegate Queen, the answer is, instead of the associations approving it, they just review it. And
right, but who now approves? Who would now approve? Like,
well, it's
other
still the
approvals?
association. The way the bill's written, it says on receipt, you apply to the department. And when the department receives the application, they still send it to MedChi and the State Board of Physicians and the Maryland Medical Society. On receipt of the notice required under that paragraph, the State Board of Physicians may take no further action, initiate an investigation for a violation of section 14404 of the Health Occupations article, or if there's reason to believe that the name of the professional entity violates the Maryland Consumer Protection Act, refer the application to the Consumer Protection Division of the Office of Attorney General for further action. On receipt of a notice required to go to the AG or to the MedChi and the Maryland State Medical Society, same thing. Take no action, refer to the Board of Physicians, or send it to Consumer Protection if they think that it's a violation of the Consumer Protection Law. And it doesn't reference, the statute doesn't really reference what other associations do or how it applies. Like I said, I've never heard of it for lawyers. And again, as I think Steve's right, I don't know of any law firms that have cutesy names. It's usually the names of the.
Right, I remember, but I thought council talked about, when we were explaining the bill, talked about what other associations did. So
yeah, so this is all professional corporations are subject to this. So that's architects, attorneys, CPAs, chiropractors, dentists, osteopaths, podiatrists, engineers, real estate brokers, veterinarians, physical therapists, and psychologists. I think there was a couple more, but that's just what I wrote. So they all have to go through this.
Through this process.
Yes, through this process.
So it then begs the question whether or not we should look at the entire statute as to whether or not, we address, which I don't think we're prepared to do today, but it looks like something that probably should be addressed more globally.
I think that's what I'm trying to get to is if we're going to change this, don't we change it for everyone?
May I just respond? The physicians, from a issue of public trust and why names matter, I think rises to a higher degree than say an architect firm or veterinarian. That we're talking about entities that need to that standard, which means that we really need to fix the process, because MedChi physicians are basically not saying no to any name change for fear of lawsuit. I believe that the bill, and why we may not want to do the entire statute, is because let's acknowledge that this has a different meaning to the consumer than other. Consumers don't have a connection to architects, right? But a physician, on the other hand, it's very important that the legislature speak to the mechanism that adds trust and adds value, as opposed to leaving these organizations out in the wind where they really don't want to say no to anybody. So I believe the bill has meaning in the way that it's being presented to the committee today.
I don't know. I think it's worth more of a summer kind of study. But
I was going to say something. I appreciate the comments and the edification, but I don't think this is something we have to do this session.
But I would be happy to work with you on it because I do think it should be, it's not just physicians and, maybe architects is a little different, but psychologists are involved in it. Which means that and I think that also rises to a level that I'd be concerned from a consumer protection perspective if names are a little hinky. Like I said, lawyers, they tend to just name it as their partners. I don't know of any law firms that call themselves something other than, Smith, Smith and Smith.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I would, can we entertain a favorable motion on this bill?
Second.
Okay.
That's fine.
Second it for favorable.
For what?
For House
Up here in
Bill
Annapolis,
1153, I'll do the roll call. Madam Vice Chair.
No.
This is when it's hard to be first. No, it does no harm. So yes.
Delegate Brooks.
Yes.
Delegate Fisher, is he still excused?
Yes.
Yes, he's yes or yes.
Here, he's here. He's
There
here.
he is.
He's here.
Delegate Queen.
No.
Delegate Turner. Delegate Turner, you're muted. You're still muted. There you go.
I was trying to think all at the same time. Okay, so I am going to say yes on this because I'm not sure, but
Delegate Rogers.
No.
Delegate Carey's excused. Delegate Jackson.
He's like me.
Dun, 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 dun.
Was this on the favorable?
This is
Yes.
favorable.
Favorable.
On the favorable?
Yes.
It's his own person.
No.
Delegate Pippy.
Yes to the favorable.
Delegate Motts.
Yes.
Delegate Wilson.
What did Delegate Pippy vote?
He voted aye.
No.
Delegate Impalaria.
Yes.
Delegate Branch.
Yep.
Delegate Valderrama.
No.
Delegate Walker.
Nah.
Delegate Chi.
Oh.
Delegate Adams.
Yes.
Delegate Aaron's.
Yes.
Delegate Fennell.
Yes.
Delegate Charkoudian.
No.
Delegate Howard.
Yes.
Delegate Crosby.
Yes.
And Delegate Watson.
Yes.
Do it. Motion carries.
Pass.
Delegate House Bill 1154.
House Bill 1154 is Delegate Jackson's bill that makes a number of changes to the Economic Stabilization Act. You'll remember that Chair Davis had a bill last session that made some revisions, and so this bill is making further revisions to the act. There's a set of amendments in the packet that change a number of the changes in the bill. So if it may be more fruitful for me to just talk about the bill with the amendment, if that's okay. That reflects, as I understand it, compromise. So as amended, the bill would establish, it alters various definitions. It establishes 2 exemptions. So the main part of the Economic Stabilization Act is that it requires certain larger employers, those with 50 or more employees, to provide notice, at least 60 days notice before a reduction in operations. And so what this bill is doing is it establishes 2 exemptions from the notice requirement. It sort of alters who needs to be notified. So it's the chief local elected official rather than all elected officials. There's another clarification related to who needs to be notified if a business is in multiple local jurisdictions. And then the bill also clarifies that a seller and a purchaser have to provide notice when all or part of a business is sold. So those are the amendments. Looks like Delegate
Move the
Charkoudian-
amendment.
I was just gonna say, it looks like Delegate Charkoudian has a question, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Let me entertain the amendments
All
first.
right, move the amendment.
Second.
All right, Delegate Charkoudian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It sounds like there was a lot of negotiation that happened, and I'm looking at the testimony. It looked like most of the unions had been opposed to the bill initially, and I was just wondering what if you know, Delegate Jackson, what their position is now. Like who was it that was part of the negotiation and signed off on this?
He's muted.
I believe they kind of all came together and was okay with the bill.
It sounded like in talking with Brian Powell, Delegate Jackson's staff, that UFCW and the chamber primarily worked on the amendments. I understand that the Senate is moving the bill in this posture, and I'm not aware of opposition at this point. I haven't heard specifically about AFL-CIO, but it was sort of presented to me as this is a compromise that was worked out with the stakeholders.
So UFCW signed off on it. And they're the ones who are primarily, that's your understanding?
Yes.
Okay, and they're the primarily. Okay, great, thank you.
Anyone else? If not, all right, now I'm throwing. We did amendments and all of that, right?
Looks like Delegate Howard.
So move favorable as amended.
Delegate Howard.
So you said there was 2 carve-outs for 2 industries. What were those again? So
it's not carve-outs, it's exemptions generally. So for
Okay.
example, one of the exemptions is if there's like a natural disaster. If they're reducing operations due to a flood, earthquake, or a drought, they wouldn't have to provide notice. And then the other exemption is if the employer is actively seeking capital or business that would have enabled them to avoid or postpone reducing operations. And providing notice would have precluded the employer from gaining the necessary capital or business. So they're not industry-specific exemptions, it's more sort of circumstantial. And in those cases, the businesses wouldn't have to comply with the notice requirements.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, nay. On the bill as amended.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Somebody?
I move the bill as amended.
Okay.
All right, I'll
Second.
take that.
Second.
Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
Delegate Watson's excused. Delegate Crosby,
Yes.
Delegate Howard,
Yes.
Delegate Charkoudian,
Yes.
Delegate Fennell,
Yes.
Delegate Arentz,
No.
Delegate Adams,
Yes.
Delegate Chi,
Okay, I guess.
Delegate Walker,
Yep.
Delegate Valderrama,
Aye.
Delegate Branch,
Yep.
Delegate Impalaria,
No.
Delegate Wilson,
Yes.
Delegate Mott,
No.
Delegate Pippy,
Yes.
Delegate Jackson,
Yes.
Delegate Carey.
Is he excused?
Yes, he is. Delegate Rogers,
Yes.
Delegate Turner,
Yes.
Delegate Queen,
Did you hear me? Yes.
thank you. Delegate Fisher,
No.
Delegate Brooks.
Yes.
Motion carries. Let's go to 1232.
All right, House Bill 1232 is the alcohol beverages manufacturers licenses and off-site permits bill. There are a set of amendments. This is actually this is very close to the amendments that were adopted in the Senate, but we, at the direction of Chairman Davis, the amendments are slightly different. Instead of providing for the permit system change to be permanent and only the delivery to be part-time, the amendments with Delegate Davis's amendment make the entire bill sunset at the end of 2022. If you want me to share a reprint, I can try to do that. Here we go. So this is the manufacturer's licenses and off-site permits bill. Much of the bill is not changed. This provides for a single manufacturer's off-site permit as opposed to the whole set of different kinds of beer off-site, beer festival and wine festival permit. So it changes all that. The bill does take the manufacturer's licenses and say that rather than it being a set fee, it says it may not exceed the current fee, but will be determined by the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission. Going down further, it provides for delivery here, and it corrects the barrel limits that were done a couple of years ago. Provides for delivery for short term for the manufacturers. And then again, everything will terminate at the end of 2022. So this is close to what the Senate passed, but not quite exactly the same.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, I think the difference between, or maybe you said it and correct me if I guess I'm right too, or confirm if I'm right. The difference is just the Senate was making the license or the permits permanent, and we are sunsetting the entire thing in 2 years.
Correct.
Okay. Delegate Branch.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I really like that. I had trouble with, that bothered me with the permits being permanent for all three classes. So to change that, to sunset that makes a lot of sense. And it's just sunsetting everything, and we'll see how they're doing at the end of that sunset. So I agree with that, and I'd like to move those amendments.
Second.
I'm glad you agree with the Delegate Branch, because you may be in conference committee on it.
All right.
all in favor signify by aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, nay. On the bill as amended.
Move the bill favorable with amendments.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Vice Chair.
Yes.
Delegate Brooks.
Yes.
Delegate Fisher.
Yes.
Delegate Queen.
Yes.
Delegate Turner.
Yes.
Delegate Rogers.
Yes.
Delegate Carey is excused. Delegate Jackson.
Yes.
Delegate Pippy.
Yes.
Delegate Motz.
Yes.
Delegate Wilson.
Yes.
Delegate Impalaria.
Yes.
Delegate Branch.
Yes.
Delegate Valderrama.
Aye.
Delegate Walker.
Yep.
Delegate Chi.
Yes.
Delegate Adams.
Yes.
Delegate Arentz.
Yes.
Delegate Fennell.
Yes.
Delegate Charkoudian.
Yes.
Delegate Howard.
Yes.
Delegate Crosby.
Yes.
Delegate Watson's excused.
Need to hold.
House Bill 1304, I had a request for a hold.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
No problem.
Second on that hold.
Can we go back up to House Bill 379? Madam Vice Chair, can you take over for
That was Mike Johansson.
return
Certainly.
in just a second?
Sure. All right, we're back on House Bill 379.
Okay, let me go back to sharing screen. Okay. If I can find the right reprint this time, I trust this is it. And move things around. Is this large enough that people can read them? If it isn't, let me know. Here we go. Here we go. That's a little
Yeah,
better.
that's good.
Okay.
Okay, Delegate Charkoudian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to, I apologize that I didn't have this information prepared earlier, but I've put it in the chat and I can submit links to all the various studies. But basically the bill as amended says that we go to 0.4% energy efficiency goal next year with a legislative intent to eventually go up to 1%, but it doesn't have the requirements of how that's going to happen. So for the purpose of this analysis, I went with 0.4. A separate study was done by NRDC that I can send the links to because the state didn't do this study for the fiscal note. That this is all in the chat, by the way, if you want to follow along with me. So the study by NRDC said that this would cost somewhere between $30 or $60 million a year. Again, because there's so many open questions about the program, they couldn't give a specific within that, but that can be our, we know it'll be somewhere between that. So currently the federal funds, which the bill now allows them to count towards that, are 14 million a year. That assumes that we don't get any more, although there's reason to believe we'll get more, but I'm going with the very conservative version of the estimate. Currently 26 million a year from Empower goes to LMI programs, so we assume that continues. So if the estimate of 30 million is correct, then this would not cost any more to the state or to Empower. If the estimate of 60 million is correct and we don't get any more federal funds, then on this high end, it would be 21 million more of Empower money that would be going into the low income programs. So for context, the total Empower budget is 303 million. So that's 7% of our current Empower budget that would have to go to the low income program. So I know that's a lot. I wish that we could have had the fiscal folks do that analysis, but that's sort of what I've been able to since we started making changes to this bill. Once we took the Alta gas money out and started adjusting things, that's kind of what I've got as the expected costs.
Further questions?
Madam Chairman?
Yes, Delegate Branch. Sorry, I can't see you.
I'm still not understanding what the fiscal note is. I mean, I hear a lot of ifs, and a lot of ifs can get you in trouble when you're looking at a budget. And I used to be on the budget committee. I was vice chair of appropriations. I'm concerned about that. I don't want anything costing us. So that raises a red flag for me. I'm sorry.
Sure.
No, that's all right. Just Delegate Charkoudian, did you want to respond?
No question.
It's my understanding, and Bob can help me out, that it's zero impact on the general funds budget. So it's no impact on the sort of general funds budget that we're normally looking at.
That's correct.
So it's Empower is its own special fund managed by the PSC. So you're right, there's a lot of ifs, but on the low end, it could have no impact on Empower. And on the high end, it would have 21 million impact on Empower out of the 303 million that's already there. So it's zero on the state budget that we normally are looking at, general funds, and it's potentially worst case scenario, 21 million on the special funds.
Yeah, this is a line item on the electric bills under the Empower Maryland legislation that was done, about 15 years ago now. Right. And the funds that are drawn are used for a number of things. For example, the rebate programs to lower the cost of efficient light bulbs at Home Depot and Lowe's are supported by Empower. The rebates and discounts on energy efficient refrigerators and ranges are also supported by Empower. This would be, Empower plans are reviewed every year by the Public Service Commission and approved or disapproved or adjusted according to the benefits tests that they apply every year to the reports that come in from each of the utilities that come in with their Empower plans.
Delegate Brooks, and then, I'm sorry, Bob, were you done?
I was going to say, just say that it's entirely special funds that we're dealing with. It's not general, there's no impact on the general fund of the state.
Yeah, I understood that, but I just know that the 91 million and telling me that it's 4% now and not having a number bothers me. I'm just not comfortable with that, but that's fine. I'm probably going to be voting no for it.
Okay. All right, Delegate Branch, anything else?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Delegate Brooks and then Delegate Impalaria.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Delegate Chakoudian, we know that, it comes from the Empire Fund, but DHCD said that initially with the 1%, that was going to increase the projects up about from 15 to 70, 75 projects. Now you're saying that was at the 1%. Now
right.
with it down to 0.4%, that should cut it down to, as a 60% reduction. That's going to cut it down to 45. And they're saying what that's going to do. Those funds were going into MIHA, and that was the multi-family energy efficiency and housing affordability, and then the LIHEAP, which was the low income energy efficiency program. So they're saying that that was going to substantially increase the amount of funding that they were going to have to increase those particular projects with. So and I understand what you're saying, that the money comes from Empower, but that still seems like they feel as though that it's going to be diverting funds away from the original purpose of the Empower Fund. So,
Delegate Chakoudian, did you want to respond?
Delegate Brooks, I don't think so. I'm not sure that that's accurate. So the MIHA goes to these funds. The LIHEAP money goes to these funds. LIHEAP, not LIHEAP. The WAP money goes to these funds. So all of that money is still there. And they expect more money to come from the federal government under the new administration and as part of the recovery. So this is now streamlining that. So we're not taking any money away from that. We're adding money to the money that's going to low income energy efficiency. The potential shift that's happening. So I just want to be really clear about that. We collect 300 million from all of our ratepayers, low income and high income.
Yeah, from Empire. Yeah, everybody pays in Empire, right? If you get utilities, you pay in Empire. Utilities and gas.
The regular general population improves efficiency at a 2% rate. Low-income folks have been hovering at 0.04%, 0.1%. So what this bill does is it says within all the money that everyone's paying into, we need more equity into who's benefiting from it. Right now, low-income people are paying in and essentially subsidizing higher income people. And this is saying we've got to move more of that Empower money and combine it with the federal money so that low-income people are benefiting from this program that they have been paying into but haven't been benefiting from at the same rate as higher income people.
Delegate Brooks, does that answer your questions for the moment?
Okay, yeah, for the moment, I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah, okay. The portion of the bill with the amendment on the screen shows the decrease from 1% to be 0.4%. Starting in 2022, and then also has language allowing the department, in this case DHCD, to broaden the scope of the program sources that they can be used for counting energy savings.
Delegate Impalaria.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move unfavorable on this bill.
Okay.
And I'll second it.
Did we adopt amendments to this when we were doing this before?
We did not.
Okay.
The amendments are under discussion.
Okay.
We can move unfavorable with or without the amendments on the bill.
Hold on, guys. Let me do this before. I don't want us to get ahead of ourselves. Since the amendments are before us, let's deal with the amendments and then whether we adopt them and so forth, and then we'll take a motion on the bill, whether it's amended or unamended.
All right, then I move the amendments.
I second.
Second.
All right. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, nay.
No.
No.
Sounds like it passed 3-2. All right. Now let me entertain a motion first.
Motion unfavorable as amended.
And seconded.
All right, moved and seconded for an unfavorable on 379. Madam Vice Chair.
No on the unfavorable.
All right. Delegate Brooks.
No on unfavorable.
Delegate Fisher.
Yes, on the unfavorable.
Delegate Queen.
No on the unfavorable.
Delegate Turner.
No on the unfavorable.
Delegate Rogers.
No on the unfavorable.
Delegate Carries excused. Delegate Jackson.
No.
Delegate Pippy.
Yes on the unfavorable.
Delegate Mounts.
Yes, on the unfavorable.
Delegate Wilson.
No.
Delegate Impalaria.
Yes on the unfavorable.
Delegate Branch.
Yes, on the unfavorable.
Delegate Valderrama.
No.
Delegate Walker.
Yeah.
Delegate Chi.
No.
Delegate Adams.
Yes.
Delegate Aaron's.
Yes.
Delegate Fennell.
No.
Delegate Charkoudian.
No on the unfavorable.
Delegate Howard.
Aye on the unfavorable.
Delegate Crosby.
No.
Nine, 4.
Move
I have
favorable
12.
with the amendment.
9-12-2.
12. And Delegate Watson's excused.
Mhm.
All right, so that motion fails, the motion for the unfavorable.
Move favorable as amended.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded for favorable on House Bill 379. Madam Vice Chair.
Yes.
Delegate Brooks.
Yes.
Delegate Fisher.
No.
Delegate Queen.
Yes.
Delegate Turner.
Yes.
Delegate Rogers.
Yes.
Delegate Carey is still excused. Delegate Jackson.
Yes.
Delegate Pippy.
No.
Delegate Mounts.
No.
Delegate Wilson.
No.
Delegate Impalaria.
No, or yes. Wait a minute. Are we on a favorable or unfavorable?
We're on a favorable.
Then I'm a no.
Delegate Branch.
No.
Delegate Valderrama.
Aye.
Delegate Walker.
No.
Delegate Chi.
Yes.
Delegate Adams.
No.
Delegate Aaron.
No.
Delegate Fennell.
Yes.
Delegate Charkoudian.
Yes.
Delegate Howard,
No.
Delegate Crosby.
Yes.
What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is it 11, 10?
11, 10 with
That's
two
what I
excused.
got, yes.
All right, Delegate Watson's excused, and that motion fails as well. All right, is that everything?
I think so.
What happened, Mr. Chair? It failed?
It
Yes.
failed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right, guys, thank you very much. I'm not gonna have a voting session before we hit the floor tomorrow. Maybe after, I'm not sure. I'll see how long it goes. It won't be long if we do. But there's a very good chance it'll just keep until we come in Monday. I appreciate a good week of work. I know that it's been long and back and forth off the floor, but I appreciate everybody's focus.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just want to say, apparently we still have a business regulations subcommittee. Everybody on biz reg, just hold tight. I know we have to jump off. I think you've got something in your email so we can get this. I'll try and be brief. I apologize.
For the rest of us that don't have
Friday, man.
you all have a good evening, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank
you. Take care. Have a good one.
CT? Dang.
We doing, CT? Are we hanging out here and
Life
just
or something, man?
We're not done yet.
we dropping into